my name is Sjatar. Today, I don't have a build to showcase, but instead a video about lossless scaling. Don't worry, this video is not as long as the length suggests. It's just that I have included the raw footage at the end so you can make your own comparisons. Lossless Scaling is a program that can agnostically do scaling and frame gen for any GPU and any game. PoE is a very good candidate for lossless scaling. This is because latency matters much less in PoE compared to shooters or MOBAs. And PoE is sadly heavily CPU bound in almost all scenarios. This counters the two main issues that lossless scaling has. It increases latency, and in a GPU bound game does not give the benefits that makes it worth running. The benefit is then smoother presentation. It trades low frame rates with artifacting and increased latency. I've had people say that they prefer the native footage, which I do as well. But when playing, I prefer the smoother presentation of frame gen. In case you missed it, the current craze for GPU vendors is not doing their job. They're making AIs guess what pixels goes where, instead of rendering more. For upscaling, it guesses the surrounding pixels based on the rendered pixels. For frame gen, it guesses the pixels in an in-between frame, based on the rendered pixels from the frame before and after it. I'll be showing 4 different setups. Native render for control, 2 times frame gen, each frame gets 1 fake frame. Adaptive frame gen to 120 FPS. It makes however many frames it needs to get to 120 FPS. Adaptive frame gen to 120 FPS, with PoE's inbuilt AI upscaler set to alter performance. In this case, the game only renders 1 pixel and generates 35 extra based on it. The last one has the frame gen and scaling set to worst quality, for funsies. Have a guess which is which. Time's up. Here are the answers. This footage you're seeing is slowed down by 50%. I wanted to upload 120 FPS, but YouTube does not support that for 1440p. So you will be seeing more artifacts than often perceivable. In the end of the video, I will be putting all the raw footage at 60 FPS, not slowed down. This will be closer to reality, but not entirely accurate, as it will blend frames together, making it look better or worse, not entirely sure. I do want to state, this is not free performance. It requires GPU usage, and in a game that is GPU bound, it sometimes does not render enough frames to be worth it. In the case of PoE, it can be worth it as it's often CPU bound, meaning the GPU is sitting around waiting for the CPU to finish work. Most gaming PCs get a beefy GPU and a cheaper CPU. This is because a lot of games are GPU bound, and you will see more FPS per dollar this way. You can see if your system is GPU or CPU bound in PoE by checking the F1 graph and comparing the CPU and GPU bars when in an intense battle. The one that is larger is the binding factor. If you're running a single GPU system, it is recommended to limit the FPS so the game only ever has about 70 to 80% GPU utilization. Then adjust lossless scaling to use the remainder. This is done by adjusting the flow scale and toggling performance in lossless settings. For my system, that is an FPS limit of 75 with no upscaler. If you have a worse system, I'd recommend limiting FPS to 60 and using one of the upscaler options to get the utilization down. Another setup, which is what I'm using, is a double GPU system. I have my current main GPU, an Intel Arc A770, rendering the game, and I have my old AMD 5600 XT generating frames. The upsides of a dual GPU system is that I can use the full power of my main GPU and the full power of my secondary GPU to render and generate frames. It removes some of the hassle of having to find a middle ground, but I've had some crashes with artifacting on my specific system. All the footage is recorded on this dual GPU system. On a side note, a dual GPU system is also great for streaming and recording, so if enough people want, I can make a short video about my setup for that. There is some important information to consider if you want to try dual GPUs. I've linked an LTT video going over both single and dual GPU setups. I recommend having a peek at the timestamp I made before considering it. I have also provided some performance graphs in the description of the secondary GPU with the different settings for your viewing pleasure. This will give you an idea of the performance impact it might bring to your system. Take note of the current clock speed of the card when assessing the utilization. The max clock speed for the 5600 XT is 1615 MHz. I will quickly show the normalized utilization. The most interesting part is that the input frame rate heavily affects the utilization. Frame gen from 30 FPS to 120 FPS is much more performant than 60 FPS to 120 FPS. This is because most of the work is estimating the motion flow in each frame, and not generating the frames. More frames means more work. This means that it's always correct to limit the FPS down to the point where you are happy with the latency. For me, 60 to 80 FPS is a good area to be in for latency purposes. Thanks for watching. If you have questions, I would be happy to answer them in the comments, and if you decide to purchase Lossless Scaling and encounter issues, the Discord has been very helpful when I had some questions prior to making this video. Happy PoE!
There are no more worthy beasts nearby. You are rotting from inside out. God's judgment awaits you. More deals, exile.
Put out new mycelium! Ugh, new roots! The blight is trying to spread! Divine power!
Finally! Come on!
You have experienced no real pain. That will soon change.
Obey me! You gave my pride a bloody nose. Now the greave's on the other leg. This one's going to hurt. Don't snuff my candle just yet. I've got access to information you might find valuable. Just let...
Savor these last breaths! Wait! Another deal!
Beg for death! Think your God's watching? Then you're a greater fool. Pick your path and walk it alone. God does not care for you. Ugh, never been one to disregard the code. Take it. Beg for death. You gave my pride a bloody nose. Now the grieve's on the other leg.
It's over, Leo. Where's the life giver?
Is no defense enough? Die on your knees. I survived the pits of Trathus. I'll survive you. Make a call. You die here! Leave you in two! Fair's fair. It's yours now. Fall before me! Obey me.